grab a magazine, you can read someone else's poetry. But Emmett, since you're here, would you like to start us off?
Clothing, clothing, clawing. Can I get a bit of God in me before the bell rings? Clawing. Can I sharpen my nails into stilettos if I can't wear them on my feet? She says. He thinks this body is godly, but I need something to eat. Clothing. Want to prick me with his clothing. Nothing. I mean nothing. If I am holy, can I finally be something? Let's not get too deep into it. But depth is all that matters in the water. Because the surface is so deceiving. I do not mind the thought of leaving, but I can never give up. Because I cannot stop until everything I do is enough. To who, she says, to who, lovely, to who, darling, do not call me those things, because the same rose made of satin turn into scarring. Scarring with enough scarring, can I get a scar for each ring? But there's much more than 10. I thought thumb rings were gay. God, let me be good today. Oh, God. I thought pretty boys were the ones allowed to cry, but they can't even speak. Cause that pretty mouths made for kissing and licking and things obscene, but never ugly, cause God, he's so pretty. I do not want to speak. I want him to lay with me. Yes, you did. Yes, you do. With all the pain, can I get a pretty Band-Aid too? Scarring's not pretty unless it's red and pretty and pink and beautiful. Is pale skin more suitable? I'll wash my brown off in the sink so I can be pure and finally rise. I will still eat and live and smile today, but I want to be me tonight. Everything I do should be art, but I've got some garbage left. I used to throw it up, but now I have carnage left. If I don't want to kill anybody, or you, and definitely not me, I won't. And now that's a truth that maybe only I will ever see, right?
Home, I literally just one night woke up in the morning, I was just like, oh, you know what? I like this one. So here it goes. This one's called Corso di Napoli, based off a little neighborhood I would visit a lot for walking the dog. So enough intro, let's begin. A night of video games put me in comatose through the morning. The sky is blue and the clouds hang over my head, showered with thoughts of the future. In my dreams, I'm back where I used to go. I saw the bay and the boats sailing along within those times. I used to think, a beautiful sight. The homes around it stood with unadulterated power. They were reminders to me. There's more than one queen in a beehive. The homes around, within the land of my own vivid imagination, I stand alone with a leafy crown made of hopes and aspirations. If I don't put it on, will you? Find the land for me while my lazy sleep immobilize me. For I am not who I used to be. I dwell where it's lacking in sunlight, and I wake up uninspired. Thank you.
Woo!
I'm recording this for PTV if you guys want to watch this later. Oops. I call this tossing and turning. Tossing and turning. Tossing and turning. Another tossing and turning. She wakes up pretty upset. She rubs her eyes, not understanding what had gone wrong. She tries to go back to sleep. Yet again, she's experiencing the events of tossing and turning. She gets up and turns on the lamp. Her eyes are wide open, looking around at everything, making sure that she is safe. Her eyelids are giving up on her. They feel like dropping down. They do. Her eyes are closed for about a few. She opens her eyes again and becomes very alarmed while being extremely exhausted. She holds herself, then rocks back and forth. She's so tired and she's so scared at the same time. She decides to keep her eyes up until the sunrise. Mind you, it's 2 a.m. She tries her hardest not to blink. She stares and stares at everything that has some light shining on it. Her eyes are hurting her because the light is on, and she hasn't closed her eyes in so long. It's been an hour or two. The poor girl is still fighting to stay awake. Her left eye sheds a tear or two. She still doesn't want to close her eyes. Her hands pull on her hair and her head. She's frustrated. She looks around at her calendar for what she has planned today, then starts to cry a little. She tries to sing her a song to calm herself. Instantly that fails because now she's too tired to speak. She pulls out her journal and tries to write. Her hand was too weak to move. She looks for the remote, puts on any show, quickly covers her ears. Even though the TV is at its lowest volume, she turns it off. Outside finally starts to become a dark blue. She goes to the window, opens the curtain, races back to bed, closes her eyes. She enters a deep sleep automatically. Her first alarm goes off, next her second one, and lastly her third one. None of it matters now because the girl finally gets to somewhat sleep peacefully. Thank you.
Narcissism like narcotics, and I'm always eager for the high. The high that makes me feel better than you or anyone or anything. A high that stems from being blind to other people's thoughts or feelings because I can't understand them and I don't want to understand them. I empathize with others because they are not me, but I can't understand them because they are not me, and I am blind to their existence. Once they are out of focus, they become 2D, a whole dimension lost. And while I love them and I care for them, I know that I can never understand them. How they think, how they feel, how they walk and talk, how they can go about their day in varied schedules and eat unexpected meals, and how they can just like things, not love or hate, but a whole middle ground that I have never been able to find. I love myself because if I didn't, it would be hate, and I chose not to anymore. And I can't understand why other people can't, because I can't. You watch shows like Big Bang or some other Sheldon schmuck talk about Rubik's Cubes and science, and I'm shit out of luck because I'm not the good kind. I'm not the smart kind. I'm not the kind of autistic you can call slurs in the halls, but you can whisper it in my ear because I promise I won't say shit at all, because I still can't say my S's. I'm not the autistic boy that gets thrown in commercials and gets spoken for, because when I try to speak, I get shushed and shushed on repeat. Notes on my test, a pleasure to have in class, except for when he raises his hand and gets a ruler to the ass. Talks about interest for hours, but who cared and who the fuck asked? The funny thing is, you can do all of that and all of that shit, and there's nothing I can do to stop it. Why? Because no one would believe you, because they are not me, and I'm not the good kind, and you are not that kind at all. Thank you.
Woo!
Exactly what it wants and craves before I knew. I wanted to give what was mine. Oh, how could I desire what was never mine? Not want to fall in love easily, but when I do fall, it's hard. I don't fall in love too easily, but when I do, I fall hard. You're way too young, what everybody loves to say, but do they know I didn't plan to feel this way? Is it my fault? This one of mine drives me insane because it longs to listen to my someone say, you, me, us, we, you, me. Not want to fall in love easily, but when I do fall, it's hard. I don't fall in love too easily. of something bigger than yourself. Ants work, not worry. Your wet feet, your ochre socks, once white, now dyed the stain of the river that didn't look like it existed until it rained, until we walked home and have continued walking. In the adjacent overgrown field, I chased the crest of myself around with a butterfly net to stain something with the yolk of the delicate evening light, bludgeoned and spilling from its oozing spiderweb crack into the lulling, his-colored puddle. That's the first.
Everything goes to wait. To his left, the lighting technicians sat on their days, the masters of their craft caught in their work, while to his left, a ramp cut downwards, separated from the audience by a wall, sound foam, asbestos, and labor. Lining the slope were upright wooden flats, cross-section furniture, and antiques repurposed for props, those being cursed by a cultural necromancy that they were now performative representations of what they once truly were. A mixing bowl 80 years ago is now a prop of a mixing bowl for a place at 80 years ago. Untruth lay quietly in authenticity. At the end of the slope, a perpendicular turn went into a stout hallway, in which lay, between supply closets, a green room. There it was reserved for actors. He was a stagehand. He tapped his foot on the floor, the weighty rubber of his boot sole silent against the carpet, in atonal rhythm with one of the songs, although not the one that was currently being sung. That was no matter. He was not listening intently. His boot sequence, devoid of tone or stress, was a vibratory string of notes, characterized only by some being made up of quick double strikes rather than a singular 1, 2, 2, 2, 1, 1. He liked that sequence. It played in the background of pleasing memories. The chair he was seated on was backwards. His legs were split, and he leaned on the loafed-out fat of his arms, which rested on the back. He had still chosen to sit backwards on it because he knew that to rest leaning forward was indicative of both exhaustion and fascination. He had much of both, and appropriate for the venue, he felt that needed expressing. He had his eyes fixed on the stage where the play was carrying on, at a 90-degree turn for him. Among the actors in their uncomfortable-looking period costumes was one particular figure he kept in sight. She was near the opposite side of the stage, standing in the way people did in old portraits, with her head kept high, her face kept level, and her hands clasped over one another in front of her. He had done everything he needed to do so that he could allocate as much time as possible to watching her perform. Just as she had jokingly suggested he do before she headed on stage, just after the pair of them embraced and kissed in the shadowed hallway right outside the green room, heavy in each other's arms, but worth the reminder that both of them were truly there. This was just after she had glided her thumb over the fleshy trench at his sides between his ribs, although covered by his shirt, just before he had tipped with 2 fingers a strand of her hair from over her face, revealing an old scar that branded her from the bottom of her cheek and strapping down under her chin. Beside him, the lighting technicians followed their numbers and cues in a language they had spent months practicing, hands walking across buttons like spiders, as if they were playing a well-tuned organ with running cables instead of steel pipes. The stagehand looked closer on stage, squinting to wall out anything unneeded to catch a sight of her, the actor. Slowly, deliberately, the lights clinging above the stage went dark, one by one in careful order. For an instant, he saw it again. There was the scar, lit well in the shadows of her face, a deep laceration in the shape of a vertical line, connecting the middle of her cheek to